I was, like other students, involved in the social life, socio-political life of the university, and I formed with 6 others the very first student fraternity in the whole of Nigeria, possibly in all of Africa, I don't know.
And what is that, the name of that fraternity?
It's known severally as the Pirates Confraternity or the National Association of Sea Dogs.
It was here, in this alcove, that it all started. The very first campus fraternity in Nigeria, perhaps in all of Africa. We called ourselves the Pirates, spelled deliberately with a Y. And we gathered as a kind of rebellious gesture against the colonial, formal, rather staid, stuffy atmosphere of the first university of Nigeria.
Back in the 1950s, it was simply a fun and debating society, our passion fueled with pre-independence idealism. After all, we were soon to be freed from the colonial yoke of Britain. We created an imaginary, non-conformist world, a piratical language, and chivalric code. Chivalry? Today's cultist would spit on the word.
My name has also come up during testimonies in connection with an organization which I founded in 1952 when I was a student at the University College of Ibadan, namely the Pirates Confraternity. Your panel has listened to testimonies from victims on the tortures and inhuman degradation that they underwent on account of their membership or alleged membership of a perfectly legal and open organization founded to raise social and political consciousness among Nigerian students in colonial times. This organization is now nationwide with overseas chapters and comprises members who occupy positions of the highest responsibilities in both governmental and private sectors of the Nigerian society. It is part of the culture, not cult, of fraternities that constitutes an integral part of normal university life in other nations worldwide, including the United States, which today boasts leaders in every field, including presidents of that nation, who still proudly wear their fraternity pins. Your commission will be requested to ask our state security agencies the reasons for their homicidal phobia for this organization. Hopefully, the confraternity will be granted a hearing on its own behalf before the commission, in which case further elaboration will be more usefully held over until the appearance of its representatives.
Mr. Wole Soyinka, it's nice to have you back with us after some time. We all know you as a university lecturer, a dramatist, a playwright of world class, and not in any way a politician. Do you think you got yourself involved in politics in any way before the authorities took you away some 26 months ago?
Of course I got myself involved in what was happening. I don't know whether you'd call it politics or not. I don't consider war politics. I believe war is a human problem, and I'm a human being. You're quite right to say I got myself involved, but you're right to say I'm not a politician.
Unless you've been living under a rock for the last 30 years, the guest on Uputa panel today really needs no introduction. But for the benefit of our international viewers, we'll go ahead and introduce the great Professor Wole Soyinka. Akinwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka, known as Wole Soyinka, is a Nigerian playwright, novelist, poet, and essayist in the English language. He was awarded the 1986 Nobel Prize in Literature for, in a wide cultural perspective and with poetic overtones fashioning the drama of existence, the first sub-Saharan African to be honored in that category. Soyinka was born into a Yoruba family in Abeokuta. In 1954, he attended Government College Ibadan and subsequently University College Ibadan and the University of Leeds in England. After studying in Nigeria and the UK, He worked with the Royal Court Theatre in London. He went on to write plays that were produced in both countries, in theatres and on radio. He took on an active role in Nigeria's political history and is campaigning for independence from British colonial rule. In 1965, he seized the Western Nigerian Broadcasting Service studio and broadcast a demand for the cancellation of the Western Nigerian regional election. In 1967, during the Nigerian Civil War, he was arrested by the federal government of General Yakubu Gowon and put in solitary confinement for 2 years for volunteering to be a non-government mediating actor. Soyinka became a strong critic of successive Nigerian governments, especially the country's many military dictators, as well as other political tyrannies, including the Mugabe regime in Zimbabwe. Much of his writing has been concerned with the oppressive boots and the irrelevance of the color of the foot that wears it. During the regime of General Sani Abacha, Soyinka escaped from Nigeria on a motorcycle via the Nadeko routes. Abacha later proclaimed a death sentence against him in absentia. With civilian rule restored in Nigeria in 1999, Soyinka returned to his nation. In Nigeria, Soyinka was a professor of comparative literature at the Obafemi Awolowo University, then called the University of Ife. With civilian rule restored to Nigeria in 1999, he was made professor emeritus. While in the United States, he first taught at Cornell University as Goldwin Smith Professor for African Studies and Theatre Arts from 1988 to 1991, and then at Emory University, where in 1996 he was appointed Robert Woodford Professor of the Arts. Soyinka has been a professor of creative writing at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and has served as scholar in residence at New York University's Institute of African American Affairs and at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles, California. He has also taught at the universities of Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, and Yale, and was also a distinguished scholar in the residence at Duke University in 2008. In December 2017, Soyinka was awarded the European Theatre Prize in the Special Prize category, awarded to someone who has contributed to the realization of cultural events that promote understanding and the exchange of knowledge between peoples.
Soyinka, do solemnly affirm that the evidence I shall give before this Honorable Commission shall be the whole truth, and so I do affirm.
Your full names are Professor Wole Soyinka.
That's right.
Where do you live?
I live in Ajebo Estate, Abeokuta, and partially in the United States at the moment.
What work do you do?
I'm a writer and a university lecturer.
Now, since when have you been a writer and university lecturer?
I've been a lecturer since early 60s, and I've been a writer for a few years longer.
Could you give a background of your professional qualification?
The background is literature, theater. I don't know what other background you would like me. I trained in the university like other people, and then went on to become a teacher myself.
Now let's go back a little bit to your past. Could you recall what you did as a student in 1952?
Yes, indeed. I was, like other students, involved in the social life, socio-political life of the university. And I formed with 6 others the very first student fraternity in the whole of Nigeria, possibly in all of Africa, I don't know.
And what is that, the name of that fraternity?
It's known severally as the Pirates Confraternity or the National Association of Sea Dogs.
In this episode of Oputa Panel, Wole Soyinka is the petitioner, and he has brought a petition against the military government of General Sani Abacha for libel, slander, and defamation of character. However, the sitting took an interesting turn when, during cross-examination, Soyinka's association with the Pirates Confraternity as co-founder takes the center stage. This is one of the more classic episodes of the Oputa Panel, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification button. Please keep the comments civil, and see you in the next video.
When students were very much alienated from their environment, they considered themselves inheritors of the colonial mandate. They were very elitist, felt extraordinarily privileged, didn't feel themselves part of the general society. And so this organization was set up to break through that mold, to fight petty tribalism, etc., and to give the students a new socio-political consciousness, make them feel members of their real, not their imagined society.
Now, would you let the commission into what contributions, if any, the confraternity had made or is making to the socio-political situation in the university as at then?
Well, let's begin with at the very beginning. In 1952, that was the period when the very notion of blood donation was brought to this country, and the first vans visited the university, and the Pirates were the very first to donate their blood in the student community. Other activities have included fighting drug abuse, drug proliferation in the community. It's included, for instance, adopting motherless babies. It's included giving free medical service, adopting villages to which members of the fraternity who were doctors would go and, I think once a week or weekends or whatever, give free medical services to those adopted villages. The fraternity, for instance, collaborated on that last note with the Commissioner for Health in Lagos State some years ago when it adopted a village in Lagos, and certainly collaborated with the NDLEA in fighting drug abuse, in holding seminars in education among communities, and there are other activities much too long for me to recount.
Now, you've heard about some abuses in universities and tertiary institutions, which were associated with some other clubs. What are your comments about those? Are they related to the confraternity?
No. There has been a lot of distortion of the original ideals of this student fraternity by other groups. The founders of these other groups, you will find, and you check from the record, were usually either those who'd been rejected by the Pirates Confraternity, their conduct simply did not qualify them, or else had been kicked out of the fraternity, or else simply wanted to set up similar associations on their own along certain very warped notions of what fraternities are about. And these cults, we call them the campus killer cults, the KKK, have absolutely nothing, no relation at all to genuine student fraternity, which is a normal university culture in most parts of the world, the United States, Germany, Britain, etc., etc. Some of these other cults, I beg your pardon, these other so-called fraternities, were founded, you'll find, usually by children of the elite with spoiled backgrounds, children whose parents enjoyed impunity in social life and extended that impunity to their children in universities. They are the real criminals of campuses.
Now, what you have described so far is the confraternity associated with such behaviors?
The Paris confraternity has never been associated with such conduct. On the contrary, the fraternity, the Paris confraternity, has organized numerous seminars, symposia. I remember the last one I attended was in...
My Lord, I'm sorry, Professor. I'm sorry to interrupt proceedings, but Your Lordship, the petitioner filed a petition before this Honorable Commission, and he has completely abandoned that petition because we have parties here who are appearing in the petition concerning the confraternity, the Paris confraternity, my Lord. So, my Lord, we humbly request that he confines his evidence in chief to his petition, unless he wants to abandon his petition, my Lord. That petition has not even been tendered. It's not before this Honorable Commission.
May I please, my Lord, I take the hint of my learned friend, but the question of the confraternity is adequately dealt with in the supplemental petition, which is dated January 25th, 2001. I would eventually tender it, but I want him...
You haven't tendered it. Well, I think you tender it first, mark it, then he can read it, and it's easier if he reads it.
Oh, I thought, I take your Lordship deal.
That's much faster if he tenders the 2 petitions. If you like, he will read the 2 of them, or read 1 of them.
My Lord. My Lord, it does appear as if we have walked into a veritable ambush. We were not served with a copy of this supplemental petition.
Only 1 copy?
Only 1 copy we have, my Lord.
Well,
and that's an ambush.
We can make copies if you can give us... we can make copies, but normally you give us, each commissioner have a copy.
Well, we sent...
If you give us what you have, we'll make copies for you.
My Lord, we sent enough copies to the commission, and my understanding is that they were delivered.
Your Lordship, if we may clarify the situation, what my learned senior is referring to as a supplementary petition is actually...
They send copies to the commission.
Your Lordship, that is a completely separate petition filed by the Sea Dogs confraternity. The professor was mentioned there because he was their founding father, but it's not the same as this petition, my Lord. That was why, if you noticed, we listed it first on the timetable because we were aware he would most probably appear in that petition. So if Professor is going to be a witness there, my Lord, we humbly suggest that that petition be taken first. Or alternatively, he may abandon this or tender it as, I don't know, but the 2 are being mixed up. And there are counsel here who are appearing in the other petition, my Lord. And they haven't announced appearance for this petition.
Now, have you seen the other file? 1474, the other petition. Are you in it?
No, I am not. I'm not in that one. I am in 14...
It looks as though he is a witness in 1474.
Well, what...
They mentioned him too.
Yeah, all right. What we have done is to file a supplementary petition to the original one. And he is only to lay a foundation and leave the details to the others. I just want to take him for only 30 minutes. He's not, I'm not calling him, I'm not representing the Association of Sea Dogs. I'm representing Professor Wole Soyinka, and it happens that part of his petition touches on
1474.
Yes.
We haven't got the supplementary, and then the one we have is only 2-page petition.
Yes.
Now, if we save time by reading the 2-page petition, and then they will be making copies of the supplementary if we haven't got additional copies. When you have that, then he will read that too.
Everything that is needs to be said has been said in the supplementary petition.
In the original or in the supplementary? In the original, we have the original. I'm saying, let's start with the original. Give us a copy of the supplementary. Then we make copies for members.
As my Lord places.
Leonard Senior, do I understand you as wanting to abandon the original and taking on the supplementary?
Well, that's in effect what I'm going to do.
Well, then the matter has to be formally, taken up.
Yes.
You abandon that, then tender the supplementary, and then we proceed from there.
As the Commission places. When the original one was written, he did not have the benefit of advice.
Sorry, just one moment. I am sure that your client knows much more than that. And I don't think that you can say that Prof didn't know what he knows now. I think that if you look at his petition, the thrust of his petition has to do with, that is, I'm talking of the original petition that was sent.
Yes.
Was the violation of his rights.
That's right.
Under the regime of General Abacha.
That's right.
And some agents that is very clearly mentioned here.
Yes.
And I would have thought that a lot of the things that we're talking about, sea dogs now, is already going to come in 2 of those petitions that we took in Port Harcourt. And I thought that unless you want your witness to, as it were, move away from this and align himself with the petition that we received in Port Harcourt. If not, the main issues here, and I think if you want to withdraw this petition, then you might as well do that, and we close this, and then move on to take the other petition, because it seems to me that the issues that he raised here are very fundamental. He mentions specific names of those agents of government that he's solely responsible, and I thought if we moved on to that and disposed of this case, a lot of the other things you're talking about, sea dog confraternity, will definitely surface when we take petition 1474.
Yes. Now, my own approach to it is that he suffered what he suffered during the Abacha's regime as a result of his involvement in student activism and all what have you. And I am laying the foundation so that we eventually move to that. And it won't take me more than 30 minutes.
And so I don't have a problem with that, but I think that your client, there are very few people that will associate your client with anything other than the international statesman that he is. But if you wish to reduce him to his membership of, or his foundation of the Sea Dogs, of Association of Sea Dogs, it's fine. But I think that the issues here are much more than the issues of his being a founding father of the Sea Dogs. Is not very relevant to what is in his petition. I imagine that what you're saying is you're simply inferring, but it seems to me that if you read the petition, you will see very clearly that he has got, and even one of the petitions that we received from, I think it was Professor Oshuntokun, that the issues we're dealing with are issues that are a bit familiar to all of us. And I thought, as I said, in order not to move away from the very serious nature of the issues of the violation of his rights that are contained in his petition, that's why I think going back to this sea dog business, not only is it time consuming, but we're still going to come to the issue because we have 2 petitions that are dealing with that.
I take the hint and I thank the honorable member for the enlightenment. But what I'm trying to do is to go from the known to the unknown.
Can I?
With respect,
May I make a contribution?
With respect, sir.
Is it allowed? Oh, sorry.
My Lord, I'd like to say that if my learned senior insists, we can consolidate the matters, and that should be fine with us. But we have to be in a matter that has the sea dog issue in.
I thought so. That's why I said he'll be a very good witness in petition 1474.
Yes, my Lord.
But if you want to tender, pursue 1403 alone, when we are considering the case, we have to consolidate the two, because they have so many things in common. All right, what do we do now?
Can I talk to my... Yes, is it possible? Okay, well, can I speak to... We don't seem to receive this, and this is an elaboration of the first one. Yes. It seems as if you did. You have it, the supplementary one. You see, that seems to be that seems to be the problem. Well, this is an elaboration. Can we substitute this? I'm speaking as a layman. Yes. Can you withdraw that and substitute this?
If we're not going to withdraw it, we are not going to withdraw it.
Or you consolidate it or something. We sent this other one ages ago.
Yes, please. My Lord, I have given the original. I thought the commission had enough copies because we sent enough copies to Abuja, but I've given them the original. I don't think it's in the interest of Professor Soyinka and members of his confraternity to withdraw the original one. I don't mind if they are held together. I don't mind. While, so as not to keep the tribunal waiting, may I tender the original for him to read, and then we can move on from there.
All right, the original Exhibit 1. Show him the original petition. That's a supplementary. Are you abandoning the original petition? Or you tender it, he reads it, you tender the supplementary, he reads it.
I will tender the two together. The original and the supplementary.
All right, original Exhibit 1, supplementary Exhibit 2. Mark them and give him to read Exhibit 1 first.
My Lord, I would like to enter appearance if the matters have been consolidated.
Appearing
in 1474, my Lord.
No, we're not talking about 1474. We're dealing with 1403.
Okay.
It has not been consolidated yet.
Okay.
1403.
Yes.
So, do you want the two cases consolidated?
No, I want the original petition.
No, we have another petition by the Sea Dogs.
I don't have a copy of that.
Do you want to consolidate with them?
No, I don't.
It doesn't.
I don't want to.
Go on, let's save time.
My Lord.
Read Exhibit 1.
I should read this.
Read Exhibit 1. Give him Exhibit 1.
Yes, I have.
After that,
My Lord,
Exhibit 2.
Your Lordship, I'm sorry, my Lord, we don't have the supplementary to Exhibit 1. We can't follow well.
It's being photocopied. Just listen and make notes.
Thank you, my Lord.
Oh, my Lord, I assume that in the second petition, it affects my clients. And so that's why I'm wondering whether...
So you're appearing in 1403.
Yes.
Announce your appearance, then record his appearance.
1474, my Lord.
Yes, but we are talking of 1403.
Yes,
now
my Lord, but what I'm saying, my Lord, is that the new petition, the second supplementary petition, affects my clients.
Announce your appearance then.
Mrs.
Stop you talking because it affects your client. Announce your appearance in 1403.
Yes, my Lord.
All right.
My names are Yime Joyowika. I appear for Mr. Musa Abdul Kadir and Mr. Festus Wamai.
Then read Exhibit 1.
Right. My Lord, it's dated August 13, 1999. It's addressed to the Secretary, Human Rights Commission, the Presidency, Abuja, Nigeria.
With utmost humility, my Lord, just as my learned friend is being affected by petition number 1403, my Lord, I was originally supposed to, my Lord, to appear for petition number 1474. And it is that my client too have been summoned to petition number 1474 that I have originally appeared here. And since the supplemental, my Lord, is going to touch substantially on the sea dogs.
Announce your appearance. And we
Y.A. Abbas, my Lord. Y.A. Abbas. Appearing for Brigadier General Sule Ahmed, retired, and Captain Ahmed Taiwo.
Any other appearances? None. Well, we can proceed then. Oh, another appearance.
With a great respect, my Lord, I'm a little bit taken aback. This is because just mere reference to sea dogs in the petition in which the professor is appearing does not call for appearance of all the other counsel in the matter. Doesn't call for it. I am loyal to the association. I'm not appearing in this matter. Reference, I'm the founder. How does it have to do with it? Doesn't. We have trashed the issue of the confraternity. We came here, we gave evidence. We are prepared to meet them when they are putting their defense. So, my Lord, this matter is just reference. I am. They shouldn't come in and smuggle themselves into this petition. Were they
They say
parties?
Their clients are
we are not
affected, but hold it. By this
yes, my Lord.
second additional petition.
Yes, my Lord.
If that is correct, what's wrong with the appearing?
My
They
Lord.
defend the interests of their client.
My Lord, we are not here to duplicate
Secondly,
things.
this is not an adversary
Yes, my Lord.
proceeding. It's a fact-finding proceeding. So as many as we can have to elicit facts, the better for the commission.
My Lord, their clients were not mentioned there. Their clients were not mentioned there. Their clients were not mentioned there.
Are you opposing the appearance?
I'm opposing it.
On what ground?
On the fact that we have a matter affecting the association on the basis of which we are here to meet issues of the association.
Which one
now,
is, that is 1474.
Yes, my Lord.
It will be called.
Yes, my Lord. What I'm talking about...
What do you lose if they say they're appearing?
My Lord...
Nothing.
The professor...
Let's go on, please.
My Lord, the professor is here with the great respect, sir. With the greatest respect, sir. The professor is here on his personal human rights violation. We can do it like this, sir. If I can help the commission. If they are saying that the supplementary petition touches on the association, they can join that. They can join that to the other petition. And let him go on with the original about his human rights violation.
On with the original, but the supplementary
yes, my Lord.
petition,
yes,
they say, will touch their clients.
My Lord, their clients were not mentioned and they were not.
Why not wait until he reads it? Then we know whether it touches
I was only trying to
anybody or not.
guide. for effectiveness.
Have you read the supplementary?
Yes.
All right then. They want to listen to it. Read the first one.
Thank you. Sir, it was thanks to the coincidence of my visit here to deliver a lecture at the University of Cape Town, South Africa on the 11th of August, and a conference on the South African Truth Commission leading to discussions on the Nigerian counterpart, that I discovered that a deadline had been advertised for the submission of petitions to your commission. May I therefore begin by pleading that an extension be granted to those who are currently based outside Nigeria. Many of them are still beyond Nigerian borders for reasons which are not unconnected with the purpose of your commission and may indeed have some useful material for you to consider. My case is not one that I consider at par with the number of harrowing experiences you are bound to deal with. Nonetheless, I believe that the framers of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights recognized an area of potential damage to the human persona when in Article 12 they declared, "No one shall be subjected to arbitrary attacks upon his honor and reputation." I accuse the Abacha regime of having contemptuously violated that provision in the most sustained and unprincipled manner with regards to my person, utilizing the full machinery of its ministries of information and foreign affairs for this diabolical campaign. Among the numerous embassies in Europe, Asia, Africa, and America that were used to distribute a glossy publication cynically titled Conscience International and published by a hack named Chief Abiola Ogundokun from an Abuja office donated to him by Abacha's presidency, I propose to single out the Nigerian mission to the United Nations. I shall present a copy of the issue that was devoted almost entirely to advertising lurid, nauseating details of a fictitious life for the person of Wole Soyinka. It was sent to the president of my university, Emory University, Atlanta, with a complimentary slip of the information officer of the embassy. Suffice it to say that even as a student of world history, with all its seamy intrigues, I do not know of any single individual, not even during the Joseph Goebbels era under German Nazism, who has ever been subjected to such an unscrupulous campaign of character assassination as I was during the regime of the late Sani Abacha. I may also add that this journal also flaunted a London publication address. On checking it, we discovered that that it was fictitious. Let me assure you, sir, that I have taken legal measures to bring the most assiduous agent, Chief Abiola Ogundokun, to justice. A libel case has been instituted in a Lagos High Court and a date has been set for hearing. I also attempted to sue the Nigerian embassy in New York for dissemination of libel, but was informed by my solicitors that the embassy was covered by diplomatic immunity. You will see, therefore, that as stated at the beginning, I consider my own persecution somewhat outside the class of, for example, the purge of Ogoni leadership or the callous murders of individuals such as Kudirat, Abiola, etc., or the experience of physical torture by hundreds of innocent people whose only crime was association, often merely alleged, with democratic activists like myself. I would therefore have preferred, under normal circumstances, to limit myself to the normal processes of legal redress. Those were not normal times, however. I consider it important that the nation and the world be made to understand what was done in the name of the Nigerian people. The resources of government were abused, and normally decent civil servants were compromised in the course of their duty. It is my intention to request you to summon Chief Abiola Ogundokun, number one, the Information Officer at the Nigerian Mission, the then Ministers of Information and Foreign Affairs, as well as the Ambassador himself, Dr. Gambari, whom I challenged in New York during my well-publicized meeting with the recent head of state, General Abdusalami Abubakar, and in presence of 3 of my colleagues from the Democratic Movement. Dr. Gambari will testify that a box containing these odious concoctions were indeed sent to the embassy from the ministry, and that he was duly provided his own copy. He will repeat what he said were his reactions on leafing through the publication. From India, Canada, Tanzania, Germany, France, etc., I have encountered journalists, diplomats, NGO and human rights officials who were recipients of complimentary copies of this document. In addition to the unaccustomed psychological turmoil to which I was subjected, I shall inform the Commission what deleterious effects this campaign had on the collective efforts of the democratic movements to mobilize world opinion against the brutality of Sani Abacha's dictatorship. Signed, Wole Soyinka.
Now, before you read the second one, you've mentioned the publication. Would you look at this?
This is the publication.
I seek to tender it.
Exhibit 3.
Now, would you direct the attention of the Commission to those parts of Exhibit 3 dealing with you?
The cover, of course, very prominently. Pages, well, a glossy page is unnumbered, opposite page 10. Oh, sorry, beginning from page 10. Page 10, and the opposite page, which doesn't seem to be numbered, but which must be 11. Page 12, 13, 5, no, that's Area Patriot. I'll just check from the photostat which I've made of the relevant pages to make sure I miss nothing out. Please, can I go back a little bit? I see there is also, no, page 8 is not important. Yes, page 13, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
You've also mentioned that a copy of Exhibit 3 was sent to the president of your university.
That is correct.
Yes. And how did you come to know about this?
The president sent it to my head of department, Dr. Bird, who then passed it on to me.
Now, the copy that was passed on to you, where is it?
I'm afraid it met with an accident, Your Lordship. I lost my bag. I've been carrying it around steadily, waiting to be summoned to this honorable commission. And a very strange incident took place in Charles de Gaulle Airport about a month ago, and I lost a number of documents, a bag, etc., etc., and it included this particular copy. But I wish to state very clearly that the president of my university and my head of department are quite prepared to swear sworn affidavits in the United States and forward them to this commission.
Now, you've also mentioned that by the connivance and deliberate encouragement of the Nigerian mission abroad, that the copies of Exhibit 3 were sent to many missions. How did you come to know about that?
Well, I traveled quite a lot, virtually everywhere during the Abacha reign of terror. And we had friends in a number of missions who were very decent people. And I also encountered journalists to whom these publications were handed over directly by missions. So we had our own intelligence network as well, Your Lordship.
Now, would you tell the commission what is your complaint about the involvement of the Nigerian agencies abroad in respect of the circulation?
My complaint is a very simple one. This is a very cowardly and sick attack on my person, on my life, on my history, on my achievements. One which also smeared by association all those who believe in the same cause as I did and still do, and who fought alongside me and other people. It created a kind of embarrassed existence in which I was talking to people all over the world. I never was sure whether they'd seen this magazine, whether they believed in it, whether they merely tolerated me because they respected me in other ways. It was a very difficult period. And it was an unwarranted and totally unsubstantiated kind of attack on a citizen. It's in violation of everything that is decent. Even in war, I think there's a limit to the degree of calumny that one can heap on one's enemies.
You also told the commission that you've instituted a civil action against the publisher of this paper. Who is the publisher?
Chief Ogundokun.
Now, by that action, you've asked for compensation for libel. What are you asking for from the commission in respect of the dissemination by the Nigerian missions abroad?
From the Honorable Commission, through you, I demand a formal apology from this government on behalf of its predecessor. I would like that apology, the wording of that apology, to be agreed between the government and myself, with maybe representatives of the panel acting as brokers. In other words, I'm not asking for just any kind of apology. I would like the apology to be compulsorily pasted on all Nigerian missions abroad for a period no less than 1 year, because this is the damage of a lifetime, no matter what the result of my civil suit is in Nigeria. That's all I'm asking.
So in effect, you're not asking for damages in terms of monetary compensation?
No.
Now, let's touch briefly on the second one. Yes. Please read it quickly.
Yes, and I wonder if I can do what I intended to anyway at the beginning, which is just to omit the sections dealing with the Paris confraternity, since I knew that this case was coming up in greater detail. But I will like to read the petition which I have made on behalf of the Paris confraternity. In other words, the details I shall leave to the case which is coming before this Honorable Commission, to save time.
That's
this is dated January 25th, this 01. The Honorable Justice Oputa, Chairman, etc. Attention, the Secretary. Dear Sir, the following is supplementary material to the petition before your Commission in connection with the notorious campaign of character assassination mounted internationally by the regime of the late Sani Abacha against my person, in contempt of decency, defiance of truth, etc., and in defiance of the Article 12 of the Human Rights, Declaration of Universal Human Rights. I now confirm that acting on the instructions of the then Minister of Foreign Affairs, Chief Tom Ikimi, the information officer at the Nigerian mission in New York, Mr. Agbehir, did distribute a boxful of these obscene magazines to the staff of the embassy, instructing them to send copies to their friends, to institutions, and any democratic and human rights organizations with which they might be acquainted. Copies of this journal were similarly sent to other embassies in the United States, ministries of foreign affairs, foreign embassies within Nigeria, and to the Pan-Africanist headquarters in Makerere, Uganda. An especially intensive circulation offensive throughout the Commonwealth was mounted in the period between the execution of Ken Saro-Wiwa of the Ogoni 8 and the next meeting of the Commonwealth heads of states in Edinburgh. After intensive search, I succeeded a few weeks ago in unearthing what is probably the last existing copy of this publication at our mission to the United Nations in the Nigeria House, New York. This copy will be tendered at the tribunal, as will the actual copy that was sent to the president of my university. But I've already spoken about the accident that happened to that one. May I state, just for the record, that my home in Abeokuta, the only piece of real estate I possess, was vandalized by a squad of military personnel during my period of exile, on the pretext of searching for the transmitter of the Democratic Voice, Radio Kudirat. Purely malicious and extensive damage was done to its structure and interior, and irreplaceable possessions looted. I have commenced the slow and stressful task of its rehabilitation, but shall not be asking for any compensation. Indeed, I would sooner that the entire building had been razed to the ground than that my name and my reputation be subjected to even a fraction of this state-sponsored smear campaign of surely unmatchable sordidness undertaken at the expense of Nigerian taxpayers. As your records, or this paragraph 2 now, as your records already show, my name has come up in hearings in connection with alleged attempts to overthrow the regime of the late Sani Abacha through violent means. I have been accused of recruiting an army in neighboring countries to invade Nigeria. The unrepentant chief of security of the late dictator has even attempted to lend credence to his fantasies by naming a fictitious individual whom he claims was my personal assistant during the democratic struggle, but who was, according to him, his own paid mole within the organization. The Commission is humbly requested to insist that this Major Al-Mustafa produce this individual, or at least furnish details of his whereabouts, so that he may come and testify before the Commission. It is my intention to dispose of this and other contemptible concoctions insofar as they are relevant to the purpose of the Commission. My name has also come up during testimonies in connection with an organization which I founded in 1952 when I was a student at the University College of Ibadan, namely the Pirates Confraternity. Your panel has listened to testimonies from victims on the tortures and inhuman degradation that they underwent on account of their membership or alleged membership of a perfectly legal and open organization founded to raise social and political consciousness among Nigerian students in colonial times. This organization is now nationwide, with overseas chapters, and comprises members who occupy positions of the highest responsibilities in both governmental and private sectors of the Nigerian society. It is part of the culture, not cult, of fraternities that constitutes an integral part of normal university life in other nations worldwide, including the United States, which today boasts leaders in every field, including presidents of that nation, who still proudly wear their fraternity pins. Your commission will be requested to ask our state security agencies the reasons for their homicidal phobia for this organization. Hopefully, the confraternity will be granted a hearing on its own behalf before the commission, in which case further elaboration will be more usefully held over until the appearance of its representatives. Permit me to state, in addition, that numerous Nigerians have suffered for even the most tenuous association with this petitioner, and in some cases, simply for having this petitioner's photograph or literature in their possession. Quite a few have endured incarceration and worse for simply bearing a vague resemblance to Wole Soyinka. It is my intention to provide the panel with instances of this irrational persecution of innocence. I urge the panel to accept the need of compensation for the brutalities and material losses endured by such individuals or to their dependents. The following are offered as a mere sampling of the documented history of victimization, ranging from routine harassment to torture and murders of members that the confraternity has endured at the hands of security agents under various regimes, both civilian and military. And with your permission, I would like to skip over those details which we provided in the next case. I speak of the Umaluku massacre also, and I list some of the details. This can be taken. And the petition which I make on behalf of the victims of these atrocities, which begins on page 6. In the context of the most horrendous acts of violence committed by the so-called campus cults, it is inevitable that an ill-informed public will fall victim to mass hysteria and adopt the facile route of tarring every unorthodox organization with the brush of the diabolical. The very idiosyncrasies that give it character, cohesion, and uniqueness are routinely demonized. Its manifestation of social consciousness is deemed subversive or diversionary, a public cover-up for a more sinister, Kabbalistic agenda. The myths multiply, and the public becomes thoroughly brainwashed. Even the media occasionally feels it can no longer swim against the tide of sweeping generalizations. The security arms of the nation, however, have a special responsibility to conduct careful and objective investigations, examine pertinent facts, and refrain from making scapegoats of socially responsible associations. Let this very nation serve us as profound instruction. There are fundamentalist sects of some religions which make a habit of violent eruptions at the slightest provocation, real or imagined. They wallow in massacres of the innocent, including children, disembowel their victims in broad daylight, and set fire to entire sections of cities that have been built with the industry and sense of belonging of their erstwhile neighbors. We have yet to hear of such murderous sects of self-styled believers being declared open game for the elimination mentality of our security forces, nor heard that the religions that spawned them in the first place have been categorized as secret cults. Every movement, profession, or association, secular or religious, spawns its mimics and aberrants, its opportunists and psychopaths. The police and military are no exception. A responsible society learns to distinguish between the strict upholders of the founding ideals and those who debase them with grotesquely distorted versions of all group conduct. The security arms of society must be at the vanguard of this rigorous duty of discrimination and education. Therefore, both for the guarantee of the fundamental human right to life of its members and in the universal quest for justice, reinforced by precedents during the present hearings, the Commission is petitioned to order a reopening of the last mentioned case of multiple murders in the interest of lawfulness, that is the Umaluku massacre, Your Lordship, lawfulness, and to serve a lesson to the Nigerian society that the culture of impunity still embraced by our security agencies is being terminated once for all. In all cases stated above, the Commission is implored to look into this obsessive establishment phobia for a legitimate but independent-minded organization and the all too frequent brutalization of those who are merely exercising their right of association as provided in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, to which this nation is signatory. The Commission is implored to look into the suffering of the innocent victims and recommend a just and worthy compensation for them, individually and collectively to the organization, which has been compelled through the wanton criminality of state agencies to bear the incalculable burden of looking after the victims and their dependents. The Commission is earnestly entreated to look at any evidence that may come before it and pronounce authoritatively and definitively on the right of this organization to exist in peace, to function without future harassment and without further stigmatization from the law enforcement agencies of this nation. Thank you very much.
Professor Soyinka, having read the original petition and the supplementary material, do you have any other thing to profile before the Commission?
My Lord, there are a number of ancillary cases to my petition. I beg your pardon. A number of ancillary cases to my petition. I can only implore the Commission to please diligently follow up links wherever they exist. There is, for instance, a case. There was a case, a criminal case, about 32, what do you call it, point charges or whatever, against an individual who was kicked out of the Road Safety Corps and who was sent back to destroy the Road Safety Corps because it was decided that the Road Safety Corps, the Federal Road Safety Corps, was peopled by Wole Soyinka's boys, his pirates confraternity. That fellow who was booted out of the Road Safety Corps was charged to court over 32 criminal charges. And Abacha's government instructed the prosecutors not to put in appearance until finally the judge had to strike out the case for want of prosecution. And there are many, many instances of this nature where simply the name Wole Soyinka or anything associated with Wole Soyinka becomes a kind of problem, kind of terror event for agencies of this nation. Whenever such cases come up, I will implore the Commission, please, to establish linkages and wherever possible to reopen those cases because they are all linked to my petition.
Now, the case which you have mentioned, would I be right to say is mentioned in Exhibit P3?
Yes, indeed. It is mentioned in Exhibit A3 prominently.
That is page 13 thereof.
Yes. Page 13, yes.
Now, you said that the case was eventually struck out in court.
Yes, indeed.
Would you look at this order?
Yes, this seems to be a certified true copy, a copy of the certified true copy of the case.
I seek to tender it.
That's it. Exhibit 3? Oh, 2. Maybe I put it back in my bag. I'm sorry.
Exhibit 4.
I've lost so many papers.
As the Commission places. Is there any other thing?
Yes, can I point out, Your Lordship, as something which I would like followed up? There is a forgery of this judgment. There is a forgery of this judgment which was used to reinstall this accused individual. When I began to investigate this case, because I wondered why the Road Safety Corps was being destroyed and a number of alleged members of Paris confraternity were either being sacked unceremoniously or sent to the most remote areas of the country, people who had helped build up the Federal Road Safety Corps. And I wondered why somebody whom we dismissed, should be brought back to execute this very felonious conduct. So I followed up the case, and I found that a forged version of the judgment of the court had been circulated. And I've sent copies of this, by the way, to the Minister of Justice in Lagos, as well as to the Commissioner of Police in Lagos. And I would like to implore your commission to ask them to follow up this forgery, because it is very much related to this journal, this Conscious International, and the material which is in there. That it was the crimes of this accused person for which he was legitimately prosecuted, which have been transferred to me, among other items, of course. And I think it'll be very instructive for this nation if that case really is pursued to its legitimate conclusion.
Prof, is it possible to get a copy of the forged
my lawyer has
judgment?
My lawyer has it.
From the Learned Senior Counsel.
We don't. My Lord, I would...
I think I have one here, if you don't.
Oh, okay.
I think this...
No, I don't.
Yes, there are two... Oh dear. My Lord, it seems as if there is a third forgery. I brought just these two. My Lord, can we forward to you later the real, the one with the real forged meat, rancid meat on it? Can we do that later on? I find that this is yet another version of the same.
Yes. Let's put that in, and then we'll...
Yes. because in the authentic judgment, which we checked solidly, the accused was merely discharged, not acquitted, discharged to protect his fundamental human rights, since the prosecution was constantly being taken ill in England, or maybe swanning in Aso Rock at the time, but certainly not putting in appearance. But the meaty forgery is the most interesting, Your Lordship, and we'll get a copy to this court. Yeah, whichever, take anything you want. No. Oh, yes.
My Lord and other members of the Commission, these are not the forged one. This is the order and the court proceedings for that day. But we would get the forged one and send to the Commission. Prof, can I tender you for cross-examination? My Lord, that will be all for him.
How do we mark him? Exhibit 5?
Exhibit 5.
Yes, cross-examine.
Number 5, where the label on my chest.
My Lord, before I take on the very erudite Professor Wole Soyinka, may you permit me to set the atmospherics for the encounter by paying my tribute to a man whom I truly admire. Professor, it is on record that in 1989, when the French Republic decided to honor you with the very esteemed award of the Commander of the Legion of Honor, the French ambassador then to Nigeria, in the presence of Jean-Christophe Mitterrand, special advisor to the late French president, did say, a speech in English is expected of me, but I would much prefer to remain silent, hand over the insignia of this new honor to the great Professor Wole Soyinka and let him do the talking. For how do I dare raise my voice against this master of the language? How do I raise my voice even in praise against that booming, overpowering voice of yours, which has sounded with resonance all over the world? But Professor, I must raise my voice at this stage. Professor, which is to say that even as of 1989, your booming voice was already railing across the various sanctums of power all over the world. Am I correct?
To some extent, yes.
Yes. What essentially, Professor, in a nutshell, were you railing against?
I take objection to the use of the word rail.
I am very, very sorry. What essentially, Professor, were you campaigning against?
In 1989.
Even in 1989, in the years previous to 1989, and in years afterwards?
Injustice, inhumanity, against society, abuse of human rights, on behalf of democracy.
Professor, is it correct to assert that one of the mysteries of French civilization, because you are a friend of France, that's the symbolism of the honor, one of the mysteries of French civilization is the ability of the French to concoct a relationship between a collectivity and an individual, between a nation and a man. Are you a friend of France?
I don't know whether France considers me their friend. France merely considered me worthy of honor.
No. Professor, you are still a commander of the Legion of Honor.
That's correct.
And you are commanding this Legion of Honor at least symbolically, when Cameroonian gendarmes, with the active prodding of the French, invaded Nigeria's Bakassi Peninsula.
Excuse me, I don't know about invasion. I was awarded an honor for my services to humanity. You see, the Order of the Legion of Honor, you don't have to have served France or done anything in favor of France. It's given to you on your merit.
Okay. Professor, please take a look at page 3 of your petition. Page 3 of your petition.
Petition, can I have the copy back, please?
No, I don't intend to cross-examine you on the supplementary petition. I intend to cross-examine you on the first, which is the one that pertains to my client, Dr. Fonagoro.
This is page 3?
Page 3, yes.
It's just 2 pages.
Okay, there's an annexure in front. The first page of your petition.
First page, okay. Right.
Professor, you did say in your petition that the Abacha presidency donated an office for the use of Ogundoku, Abiola Ogundoku.
That's my information, yes.
Can you tell the Honorable Commission the address?
I do not have it here.
You do not have the address. Can you tell the Honorable Commission the date at which this donation was made?
No, I cannot.
And you do not know by what means the donation was made?
I know, by donation, I hope you're not suggesting that it was given to him permanently, because I know he was booted out after Abacha fell. So I hope you're not talking of donation as a gift, but he was supplied an office to use for this most obnoxious campaign.
Were you able to find out the media outfit that published Conscience International?
The media outfit?
Yes.
Yes, we've served. My lawyers, in fact, have served them. But the London address is totally fake, false.
Was your lawyer able to find out from a search, an appropriate search at the registry of the Corporate Affairs Commission, whether Dr. Walter Fonagoro was a shareholder of that media outfit?
Well, my lawyer will have to come here to answer that question.
Were you able, Professor, to find out whether Dr. Walter Fonagoro was a shareholder or a director of that media outfit?
No. I didn't.
Was he an employee of that media outfit?
Was that what, sorry?
Was he an employee of the media outfit?
No, he was Minister of Information.
Professor, in the various editions of the magazine to which your attention was drawn across Europe, across the various capitals of the world, did you come across any literary contribution made for publication to that magazine, made directly by Dr. Walter Fonagoro?
Nope.
Professor, are you familiar with the literary style of Dr. Fonagoro?
Yes, I think so. I'll have to recollect it because I haven't read him in the last, since verdict something or the other. I have not read him.
Okay. Was there anything, whether by way of idiolect, syntactic arrangement, or peculiar collocation that would warrant an assumption that perhaps under a pseudonym, Dr. Walter Fonagoro was contributing to Conscience International?
I will answer your question in the negative, but I've never made any such charge.
No, I am asking this question because Dr. Walter Fonagoro has been drawn here to respond to your petition. Your petition made reference, of course not by name, to Dr. Walter Fonagoro, but to the then Information Minister, and perhaps on the basis of that assumption, He's been drawn here. He's been dragged before this Honorable Commission to respond to your petition.
Let me remind you, please, that ministers of information have lots of script writers, you know, in the normal course of their duties. Now, I'm not saying that he instructed anybody to write anything here. I'm just saying that it's not enough to suggest that his literary style is not prominent in any publication. You understand?
Professor, there appears to be a contradiction on paragraph 3 of your petition. Your complaint at first.
Paragraph 3?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. Paragraph 3. Your complaint at first is directed against the Nigerian mission in the United Nations. At first.
At first, no. Only as a vehicle.
Yes, of course. You made reference to the Nigerian mission in the United Nations.
Oh, yes, I've focused on them because...
If I may read that with the kind permission of the Honorable
Yes,
Commission.
go ahead.
I propose to single out the Nigerian mission to the United Nations. I shall present a copy of the issue that was devoted almost entirely to advertising lurid, nauseating details. Professor, then you now went on. I just want you to clarify what appears to me to be a contradiction. You now went on, in the same paragraph, you now went on to import the word embassy. Embassy.
Oh. Yeah.
Its importation, Professor, with all due respect, would appear to distort the technology of grammar.
The correction is very definitely taken in the educative spirit in which it has been offered.
Thank you very much, Professor. Professor, you also said in your evidence in chief that you were unable to tender before this Honorable Commission the very copy of a rather axum publication, the rather axum Conscience International, presented to the president of Emory University, Atlanta. And if I read you correctly, you also said that attached to that copy was a complimentary, there was a complimentary attachment from the Nigerian Information Officer attached. Is it to the embassy or to the United Nations?
Information Officer.
Attached to the Nigerian Mission, United Nations?
Nigerian Mission, United Nations, Nigeria House.
You also said that unfortunately, I presume, both that copy and that attachment were lost in a freak accident. So there is nothing perhaps, okay, Professor.
No, I can see, this is a fact-finding mission which can go on even after the panel has stopped sitting.
I understand,
I can
Professor.
produce affidavits, sworn affidavits.
Professor, you are a very conscious citizen of a growing new nation. And I am sure that you are very, very familiar with the bureaucratic configuration of the Nigerian bureaucracy.
No, I tend to avoid Nigerian bureaucracy.
Okay,
but
Professor.
I know it's pretty tough.
Professor, is the information attached to the Nigerian mission at the United Nations a staff of the Information Ministry, of the Municipal Information Ministry, back home in Nigeria?
There has been a tussle for power in many of those embassies. And the function, the relationship between the information section and what you might call the proper embassy section varies from embassy to embassy. So I cannot give you a general picture which will be applicable to all the missions and embassies all over the world.
Professor, You also said in your examination, your evidence in chief, that you have now taken steps to avail yourself of the provisions of the law relating to the law of libel by taking Chief Gundoku to court.
Yes.
Without prejudice to the provisions of Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, don't you think that Article 12 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a mere exhortation to municipal authority to incorporate into their domestic laws an apparatus for safeguarding individuals from arbitrary attack to their honor and reputation, and that apparatus has been amply provided for in the law pertaining to libel, of which you've availed yourself?
No, I didn't drag Chief Ogundokun here. It's just that it's inevitable that we mention him.
Okay, thank you.
I'm dragging the government here before the panel.
No, I thought this particular line of cross-examination germane, since I'm representing the erstwhile information minister.
I understand.
Well, Professor, you are a poet. I say this with all respect, of no mean repute. At least the relevant portion of the citation of the Nobel Award given to you at Oslo recognize that with strong poetic undertone, you have mirrored the drama of existence. And it is also on record that in the past there have been very fierce verbal, literary exchanges between you and some other colossi like Professor Ali Mazrui, Chinwezu, Achebe. And this was in the spirit of the constitutionally guaranteed right of free expression. Why, Professor, did you not deem it worthy to take on the information, Dr. Folagoro, literally, since, of course, he is an intellectual giant in his own right? It does appear to me, Professor, that the step you've taken, the disputation between you and Dr. Fonagoro is, to say the least, non-existent. Or if it exists at all, it exists in the abstract. You should have taken him on like you took on the other colossi. Why have you decided, Professor, to adopt an approach that is not worthy of poem?
I don't fully understand that question. I mean, I have a right to drag to this, before this panel, those who have tarnished, who have worked assiduously to tarnish my reputation, or who have contributed in some way or the other, or who are the responsible agents of government when this particular act of assault took place. I do not have to bandy words. Ofanagoro says he's a historian. My field is not history. I'm concerned with the contents of Conscience International. In other words, I don't really understand how I'm supposed to answer that.
Professor, I was asking this question because there appears to be nothing against Dr. Fonagora personally, even though his
nothing personal.
Capacity.
Nothing personal.
Nothing against Dr. Fonagora in person.
Not as a person, no,
okay,
absolutely.
I thank you very much.
No.
Members of the Honorable Commission, I would like to conclude my cross-examination by once more deferring to the erudite professor, Professor Wole Soyinka, novelist and pamphleteer, the conscious citizen of a growing new nation, defender of human rights, Akogo of Eshara, the heir to the great Yoruba tradition, erstwhile commander of the Federal Road Safety Commission, able bottom-barred commander of the National Liberation Council, the hunter, the wine lover. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
After a citation, something else happens. Yes.
Professor Soyinka, you're one of the founding...
With a great respect, my lord. With a great respect, my lord.
at this stage, I will object again. I will object. There is a procedure in this
I said
commission.
This is a fact-finding commission.
Yes, my lord.
We admit facts from any and everywhere. We even admit newspapers.
Yeah, my lord. The point I'm trying to underscore is simple, sir.
All right. Let me write down your objection.
Yes, my lord. My lord, the first ground of my objection.
You're appearing for whom?
I appear for the National Association of Sea Dogs. My names are Chief A.K. Usawata.
You are not appearing for the petitioner.
I appear for...
He is the one to object.
My lord, the point I'm trying to underscore is very simple. It's very simple. The petition has been read. There is a case affecting National Association of Sea Dogs. The client of my colleague, his name was not mentioned in his petition.
Correct, my lord.
His name was not mentioned.
That's not correct. See page 3 of his petition.
I said his name was not mentioned.
His objection now.
Yes, my lord.
Objection
so,
my lord.
Much obliged, my lord.
Professor Soyinka, I think we'll start from where my learned friend stopped. Can you take a look at Exhibit 2, page 3?
Yes. Yes.
Can you read the area that mentions Mr. Abdul Qadir, Musa Abdul Qadir?
The Rivers State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Abdul Qadir Musa, who was the commanding officer, 1 Amphibious Brigade, was on hand to receive the suspects, in quotation.
Thank you, sir. Sir, where were you between February 1997 and September 98?
In exile.
You were in exile. So you were not in Nigeria when that event occurred?
Nope.
So you only wrote what you were told?
Absolutely.
Thank you,
what
sir.
I investigated.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you are one of the founding fathers of the pirate confraternity. And your name, your piratical name, sir, is Captain Blood. Correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Sir, you also said whilst reading your petition that the Nigerian public has demonized the pirate confraternity, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. You are, sir, the life chairman and spiritual head of the pirate confraternity.
No, I'm given all sorts of titles, but certainly not life chairman. Some kind of title involving spiritual head, spiritual advisor. It's not even codified. It's not.
But you
structured.
are the spiritual head.
No, I'm telling you by what names I'm sometimes referred.
Okay.
But certainly doesn't include life chairman. We try to avoid.
Okay, sir. But members of your fraternity are expected to get spiritual inspiration from you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I will be correct to say, sir, that the pirate confraternity is both a spiritual and a humanitarian confraternity?
Because somebody is considered a spiritual inspiration does not mean that it's a spiritual organization that considers him so. It's two different things.
What does it mean?
Spiritual is something nebulous. When you run out of words, I don't know what to do.
Sir, I would like to appeal to you, sir, to use simple English so that we can understand.
Nebulous means something you cannot really lay hold of. It's a vague expression. You see, a spiritual organization has to do with religion, for instance, with spirituality. I can guarantee you that the Paris Confraternity contains all kinds of religions, from traditional to Muslims, Christians. So obviously it cannot be, cannot have a religion. That's the distinction I'm trying to make.
Thank you, sir. You would agree with me, sir, that your name and person lend some kind of credibility to your association?
Yes, I suppose so.
Thank you. Sir, you would agree with me as a lecturer, a university lecturer, that parents send their children to schools to become better, responsible people and to go to... You would agree with me, sir, that parents send their children to schools to become proper, well-educated citizens of this country, and they're not expected to participate in drinking of alcohol and other things that could mislead them?
I think you're taking a very puritanic view of what university education is like, very narrow. To say that a grown-up youth who can be sent to war at any time cannot drink moderately in the university, I disagree absolutely with you.
Sir, while saying that the public has mistakenly addressed your organization as demonic,
what would you term a name as Captain Blood, Evil Jesus, Evil Crucifix, Holy Satan, Lucifer the Sampler, Jesus Iscariot, Islamic Pope, Devil Angelica, Faithful Judas, and Devil's Alternative?
I used an expression here in my petition in which I referred to the organization as one with many idiosyncrasies. One of these idiosyncrasies is not to take themselves too seriously, to in fact have a spirit of self-deflation. It's a kind of homeopathy. In other words, you actually can give yourself a name which in fact is the very opposite of what you're supposed to be. It is part of the nature of fraternities.
Sir, you will agree with me that a name can influence the life of somebody.
Depending on what the name means for the bearer. There's an expression which goes thus: it's not what you call me, but what name I answer to. And that means what is the meaning behind the name.
So you will agree with me, sir, that Lucifer the Sampler can affect the life of the bearer of that name?
No, only it is immature and subject to what we call hypnotic suggestion. And those who admitted to the Paris confraternity are beyond that.
Professor Soyinka, are your children members of this confraternity?
Yes, my son, Olaokun, is a member. He was initiated. He's a member of the Zero Meridian. That's the chapter in London. Yes, he is.
You also said, Professor Wole Soyinka, that membership is open to well-meaning individuals of the public, correct?
Yes, indeed, but very strictly, vetted. Very strictly vetted.
Are women and disabled members of your association?
Disabled, yes. One of our most prominent members, I can't remember his name now, maybe somebody can remind me. In fact, yes. He gave himself the piratical name Wheelchair, Ahoy Wheelchair, because he was permanently on wheelchair. See, that's the kind of sense of humor which people have, that they don't mind, making fun of themselves. Women are not admitted, but that is because the organization decided to be an all-male character. The Boy Scouts do not...
Sir, I will be correct to say that women are not members of your organization because we cannot carry out the violent requirements that you require to be a member of the pirate confraternity.
I will respond to that by saying that there are many women affiliates who actually accompany their husbands, their boyfriends to many of the functions and actually take pride in the membership of their spouses.
But they are not members.
They're not full members, no.
Thank you. Professor Soyinka, your organization, you claim, is registered.
Yes.
Your
Yes,
organization is registered.
It's registered.
Can you take a look at this certificate of incorporation, sir, and confirm to this commission?
Yes, this looks like a copy of the real thing.
Can you take a look, sir, at the conditions and directions? Under the signature.
Yes.
Can you read it to this commission?
This certificate is liable to cancellation should the objects or the rules of the body be changed without the previous consent in writing of the minister, or should the body at any time permit or condone any divergence from or breach of such objects and rules.
You will agree with me, sir, that the ideals of your organization are no longer what it was meant to be.
Oh, I disagree, absolutely.
You disagree?
Oh, I disagree.
Sir, you know a certain Dr. Olagundori? Agunloye.
Agunloye, yes.
Yes, he is one of your members and one of the founding fathers of the organization. He was quoted as saying that he's surprised that the students now in campuses have derailed from the ideals for which your organization was set up. And you have also, you even said it last week or something at a convocation ceremony, that they have changed the ideals of the fraternities.
Yeah, they began. These are other organizations. They have not changed the ideals of the Pirates Confraternity. No, but they claimed to be fraternities. And I say that these are not what fraternity is about. So these are totally different organizations.
Professor Soyinka, you are aware that universities have prescribed the activities of your association on their campuses?
I'm sorry, you're wrong. The Pirates Confraternity voluntarily withdrew on orders from campuses because they were sick and tired of being confused with the evil cults. They withdrew. The date, at least 12 years ago, 15 years ago, they withdrew voluntarily.
Professor Soyinka, are you aware that sometime in 1972, the Ahmadu Bello University prescribed the activities of the Pirate Confraternity because 2 students died after the initiation ceremony of the Pirate Confraternity?
I'm not aware of any such story.
Well, Professor Soyinka, the universities prescribed your organization because they believed that it was not in the interest of national security and it was not in the interest of public safety and public order.
May I repeat something which I said in an interview recently? These very vice chancellors who have prescribed certain organizations, I'm not saying I agree with what you've just said. It's amazing that many of them are responsible for the furthering of these secret cults on campuses. I mean, this is on record, and if you call for the security reports, you'll find the case of vice chancellors who, in fact, employed these secret cult members as their bodyguards. They use them to harass the progressive lecturers. They use them even to throw the luggage, the property of these progressive lecturers, I refer to the University of Benin, for instance, one of the most notorious, into the streets. So you see, when authorities give reasons sometimes why they proscribe certain organizations, it's very important to have independent commissions sometimes to look into the real reason behind them.
Okay, Professor Wole Soyinka, you also said whilst giving testimony here that your organizations contributed, donated blood. What landmark contribution has your organization made to Nigeria in terms of fighting against tribalism, for which was one of your objectives? What have you done
since
1952 besides donating blood?
Among the many activities, I spoke about symposia, which usually take place during Converge. The theme changes every year, and the public is always invited to participate in the symposia, because part of the functions of fraternity is to educate the public and to reorientate the minds of the public. Give you one other instance of the functions of the activities of this organization. It unilaterally looked into the fraudulent activities of the toll gates at the very beginning of the installation of toll gates. Discovered that millions were going down the drain, and received, in fact, a letter of commendation and thanks from the Ministry of Works. The various activities of the confrat are numerous. I just don't want to, go through the whole list. And when you talk about what have they done to reduce tribalism, is this something one can really measure, beyond symposia, beyond showing example by their own way of life? Is there something they could do beyond that?
Professor Soyinka, will it surprise you to know that in course of the initiations of your members, they are given a concoction known as Bloody Mary, which also contains weed, blood, and other things?
You see, this is part of the gross mythification that takes place in public. And I'm really distressed that this is being presented to me almost like a statement of fact. In the handbook of the piratical organization, which I hope will be presented here, you will find that drunkenness earns what is known as one of the punitive spots, and the various grades of spots in which you are, you collect very many and you are booted out permanently. The smoking of weed is simply not permitted. However, vis-a-vis this habit of calling things by the wrong name, you'll find that the word weed is used.
Thank you.
And you'll find it means cigarette.
Well, sir, take a look at this. The requirements for lawyers. The first page.
Well, this is not my document, and I would rather not be associated. I would rather this came through whoever prepared it. It's important for me to state here, by the way, that there have been so-called initiations into Paris confraternity held throughout the... we unmasked, for instance, a syndicate which was charging quite a substantial amount of money for allegedly initiating people into the Paris confraternity. And it was a totally non-existent deck, as we call it. This is one of the reasons I don't want to, I would rather you show it to...
So, sir, I am sure that you will agree with me that a lot of activities have taken place by members of your association without your notice.
Oh, of course, but what I'm saying is that even by non-members,
That's okay, sir.
By non-members.
That's okay, sir. Sir, you also served during the regime of Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, correct?
Said what, sorry?
You served under General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida.
No, I did not.
You did, sir.
I did not.
You served as the head of the Road Safety Corps.
What you see, again, we're in the problem of use of expression. I don't consider serving the nation to reduce road accidents free of charge, without any salary, without any allowances, using my own office and sometimes my own resources. I do not consider that serving under.
It was during his regime.
During. I served the nation during.
Sir, it was also, I am surprised, sir, that it was during that regime that your literary colleague,
Maman Vatsa was executed.
It is during that regime, yes.
How can you reconcile, sir, serving or being associated with Ibrahim Babangida, who we all know caused a lot of violations in Nigeria? How can you reconcile that with your quest for human rights?
Let me remind you that I invented the Road Safety Corps in Nigeria, and I did it under or during a military regime, the military regime of Olusegun Obasanjo. For me, there were certain issues, including issues of life and death, which transcended certain considerations, at least on a temporary level in this nation. May I remind you that the first Road Safety Corps, which was instituted in this country, was destroyed under a civilian regime, the regime of Shehu Shagari. In other words, you find that sometimes military regimes, in certain aspects, can act or respond in a humanitarian level, which it seems from what happened that even civilian regimes don't seem capable of. So since I was not earning one kobo under Babangida, and as I always said, I was prepared to throw out the regime from my office anytime, I had absolutely no problem of contradiction, especially as it was a continuation of something which I began under a military regime.
Sir, I would be correct to say that if you had the opportunity, you would have done the same thing under the regime of Abacha.
That's a very preposterous presumption, very preposterous. It is totally inconceivable. May I remind you that I resigned from that organization when it became clear that Babangida was not going to leave office at the time he promised he would. Through their job, their assignment back in their faces, and I moved to now devote more time to the politics of this nation. That began under Badamasi Babangida.
Well, that would be all for this, Soyinka. Thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions? Just as an aside, Council was talking about name. Council for, you meant a lot of, about 20 minutes about the names. Something occurred to me about what is in a name. A rose by any other name will smell as sweet. This is one side of it. The other side, give a man a name and he'll play the part. So you have to reconcile the two in your address.
I may add, give a dog a bad name in order to hang it.
That's the three now, three sides of name.
My noble professor, at page 3 of your supplementary petition.
You can't hear.
Sorry, my lord. That my noble professor, at page 3 of the supplemental to your original petition, you said, without wasting the time of the commission, the first major item reads, 14th April 97, illegal arrest and detention in Enugu by Colonel Sule Ahman. Arrested, Ifeanyi Onoche, Dr. Kelvin Ezike, Jude Olotu, Idika Kalu, Onyekachi Elechi, Chamberlain Mbacha, Ifeanyi Wajiaku, Barrister Cyprian Okeke, Okeke Ndubueze, and Ifeanyi Egwatu. Arrest and torture conducted by Lieutenant now Captain Ahmed Taiwo and Lieutenant Salihu. Duration of ordeal, 3.5 months. Last date of detention, 14th November 1997. Relief sought, release of seized materials, payment of compensation. By extension of the first question of the last counsel that cross-examined you, sir, you are not in Nigeria too.
Nope.
Between, I'm not landed, sir. Between the period of 14th April 1997 to November 1997. You are not in Nigeria, sir?
No.
Where were you, sir?
Oh, I'll have to look at my many passports
No,
to
no.
tell you exactly where. May I point out, Your Lordship, also that even if I were in Nigeria, I could not have been present at all of these events. I would have to conduct my serious investigation.
Sorry, sir, you are not sure of your whereabouts at this period?
The exact place? No.
No, whether you are within or without Nigeria.
Could you just repeat the dates again?
That between the period of 14th April 1997 to 14th November 1997, where were you, sir?
Outside Nigeria.
Outside Nigeria, sir. And that means, sir, that since you are not in Nigeria, it is a hearsay. Whatever you have said under this major item is an information passed to you.
Would you say that after the police are informed about a crime and they investigate, that it is still a hearsay? You know, would you use that expression for your report after investigating certain crimes? Would you use the word hearsay?
With utmost humility, sir, you may not be able to ask me a question. Thank you, sir. I'm cross-examining you, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I am saying, sir, that since you are not in Nigeria, you were informed about the incidents of 14th April 1997 to 14th November 1997, sir.
Yeah, I wasn't present at Ken Saroui was hanging also.
Very well, sir.
But he was hanged, he and his companions also.
Thank you, sir. Sir, on the 31st of October 1980, you decided to incorporate the National Association of Sea Dogs. Your certificate was issued. Certificate of incorporation was issued for National Association of Sea Dogs on the 31st of October 1980, sir.
I think so, but I think you better ask that question of the officials. You see, you are taking me as an official, and I am not. So I cannot be specific about these dates.
You see, sir, you have said so much about the
in general terms,
the aim and objectives
in general terms
of National Association of Sea Dogs, and in light of that, where I'm going actually is this, sir, that if you are incorporating the kind of association you have, sir, you are always required to have submitted with your application form your aims and objectives.
Excuse me, could you talk to the executive about this? I have just repeated, I am not an official of the Paris Confraternity. Could you wait and speak to the executive, those who incorporated it, who know the dates, who presented the papers? I do not have that kind of information.
Are you a member of the National Association of Sea Dogs by the 31st of October 1980, sir?
Yes, certainly. I've never ceased to be a member.
Thank you, sir.
Never ceased to be a member.
And on the 30th, you are in the society, you are a member, sir. You submitted with your application for incorporation some aims and objectives.
Excuse me, when it says you submitted, I do not know what was submitted. I was not present, and I don't take part in the day-to-day activities of the chapters. I mean, why don't you wait for somebody who can provide this information?
Who is in custody of your aims and objectives and your certificates, sir?
I presume definitely should be in the possession of the executive, either the secretary or the president or whatever, the president Kapun, as we call them. It's another word for you.
You see, sir, why this is very important to us, sir, with due humility, is that the conditions and directions pursuant to which or premise upon which the certificate was issued to you on the 31st of October 1980, sir, reads thus, and I quote, it said, this certificate is liable to cancellation should the objects or the rules of the body be changed without the previous consent in writing of the minister, or should the body at any time permit or condone any divergence from or breach of such objects or rules. That is why it's very important, sir, in blowing the trumpet of the association, in trying to show that it's an association that tallies with this kind of society we are, sir, we must know too, sir, that originally, when you go to even incorporate, your aims and objectives tallies with what you claim that association to be, so that we know whether there's a divergence or not. We leave that as that, sir, because, sir, I know you cannot be able to answer me adequately.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, let me take you to another area, sir. You have said in your evidence, sir, that consequent upon either ejection from the association or refusal to admit into the association, some people have taken it upon themselves, sir, to go and form some other confraternities. That was your evidence, sir.
Freedom of association, absolutely.
No, I'm not asking you about the constitutional right. I say, sir, consequent upon your refusal to admit some people or your ejectment of some people, they have not taken it up, some have taken it upon themselves to form some confraternities.
We know about that.
Very well, sir. That very word, confraternity, you use, sir, is part of the words of your association, i.e., Pirate Confraternity. Yes. Very well, yes, sir. You have also said, sir, that probably based on the background of these children who have later formed those your own described heinous associations, you have said, sir, that their activities are inimical to the society. During your evidence, those other activities, those other societies.
Yes, I know about
Very
those,
well, sir.
and I was not even present at some of those activities.
Very well,
in reference
sir.
to your last question.
Very well, sir. And just like the Pirates Confraternity, sir, those other associations, apart from bearing the name Confraternity, they equally have some names which are known to only members alone. That is not the name they bear in the open world. You agree with me, sir?
You're talking about other organizations?
Yes, sir.
I mean, why are you questioning me about other organizations?
Because, sir, you so much know about the activities that you even know that the activities are inimical to the society.
I know as much as you do. You read it in the papers?
No.
You hear about people who took machine gun to my former University of Ife, claimed they belonged to a fraternity and mowed down other students? Are you saying that is not public knowledge?
Sir, when you are being taken on oath, sir, the last one was said, "So help me God," and you said, "So I have." What does that mean, sir? Why not say, "So help me God"?
Excuse me, do I have to answer that kind of question? If you insist, I will.
No.
If you insist, I will.
No, you see,
the point is,
yes.
If you answer, if you know the answer.
You say you don't answer.
I prefer the affirmation because
I remind counsel that this commission is to investigate gross violations of human rights.
Yes.
Investigate the fraternity.
Yes.
Unless it abridged your right.
Yes, sir.
Then a petition. But we're just listening to you. We don't want to stop anybody.
Well, to save time, I'll answer him, although I don't want to get to the subject of religion.
Yes, sir.
I'm not a Christian. I am not a Muslim.
Thank you, sir.
And,
it's all right, sir.
I'm an animist.
I'm all right, sir. I'm most grateful.
I believe in humanity.
I'm
a humanist.
You are neither a Muslim or Christian.
I'm a humanist.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm most grateful. Sir, I'm sure you must have been told, sir, or do you know, sir, that proceedings upon the alleged violations of members of your society within the period of 14th April 1997 to 14th November 1997 is being addressed before this Honorable Commission, sir?
Yes, and I make a point of mentioning it in my submission so that there is no duplication.
Very well, sir. And I'm sure you are aware too, sir, that evidence, even the issue of this alleged human rights abuses have not even been commenced upon here, sir.
Not in Abuja, but in Port Harcourt and Enugu.
Yeah, I said particularly they were consolidated, but particularly that of Enugu, evidences have not even commenced on them.
Oh, I do not know what the actual position of the hearing is.
And in that respect, sir, if you don't know about the position, sir, you agree with me, sir, that you will not be too safe or too sure of being able to recommend whether anybody's right has been violated or not. It has not been established.
I would like to invite counsel to look at the date on these petitions.
Yes, sir.
The first petition was written in my anxiety to make sure I did not miss the deadline and
sir.
later on, I then took the trouble to start investigating other cases which I considered linked with me. My point before this panel, this commission, is to say that certain people have suffered, have undergone inhuman treatment on account of me, and therefore, any weight I can lend to their petition, it is my moral responsibility to do so. This is what I've always done in all my life.
In Enugu, sir, your rights, your human rights were not violated.
In where?
In Enugu. Between the days of 14th April 1997 to 14th November 1997, your human rights were never violated in Enugu.
As Wole Soyinka?
Yes, sir.
No, not in Enugu, no.
Very well, sir. And whatever you are told here, sir, is an information given to you.
I investigate.
Now, I just want to recap my...
Look, even during the Abacha days, we had a very strong investigative network which uncovered a number of the atrocities before they became known to the Nigerian people. And if the panel wishes, I can give you one or two examples
Lastly, sir,
to show you how efficient we were
at
our investigation.
Lastly, sir, your petition alleges issues of brutality, material losses, torture, and murder. My simple position to you, sir, is that as the case with respect to Enugu concerning the member of the parish is concerned now, that recommendations start suspended unless it is established there is a violation. Because it is before the commission.
This is the work of the commission to decide who's lying.
Thank you very much, sir.
Whether it lies on this side or on your side.
Any other questions?
I'll give you an example of the kind of efficient network I've been asked to. The task force, for instance, we knew about their existence and their modus operandi long before it hit the Nigerian newspapers, and I was not in this country. And it was based on such solid grounds that I forwarded the names of some of the principals, including Al-Mustafa, to the State Department of the United States to request what assistance they could give us in trying to dismantle this killer nest. I gave them the number, the telephone number of the hotel where they were staying, and in this very place, the way they worked, the way they operated. Additionally, and this is nothing new, before Abiola was killed, I received from our network information that he was going to be killed in prison. The fax, which I can send, the fax message which I can send to you if you like, I didn't come here to come and narrate all this, but certain things are being said. The fax kept chasing me about. The urgency was such that I was chased all over Europe and I was meeting people. And unfortunately, I received it after I had my tete-a-tete with Kofi Annan before he came to this country. I gave an interview on VOA saying that I had this information and that it was just one of those things, not that there was anything one could have done anyway, but it was a very panicky message saying, if you people don't get Abiola out of jail immediately, he's going to be killed in jail. I merely give this as some of the examples of the kind of network which we operated during the Abacha regime. We didn't just go around screaming or railing, as somebody has suggested. We did very solid, efficient work. And we unmasked many of these criminals, these terrorists, whose identities are now only being known to the Nigerian people. One more example. Before the Nigerian papers carried it, we carried on Radio Kudirat the information that Shehu Musa Yaradua had been injected with a poisonous substance. We carried it on Radio Kudirat. And you say I was not in Nigeria, and therefore this was hearsay. We were so confident in our information that we carried it all over the world, and we dared. We dared the world to challenge the fact. And of course, look at what is coming out before this very panel.
had to finish then.
Just, Prof, sorry, I mean, while we're at this, the Commission will very much appreciate whatever information your network can declassify. Because as the chairman has always made the point over and over, this is a fact-finding commission, and from what you have said, what some of us already knew, that a few people outside this country were perhaps far more informed about what was going on than we were. So whatever information either yourself or anybody can make available to us, this commission is also trying to help Nigerians deal with the issues of their history. So, and we're not making a judgment on anybody one way or the other. So whatever you can make available to us now or in the future, please feel free to do so.
My Lord, it will be a pleasure, and I did not want to be presumptuous, but we will send you information which we have, including even regarding the murder of Dele Giwa.
Professor, sir, your Exhibit 2 is a concretization of your lifelong fight against injustice and, well, fight for the oppressed. But for convenience sake, I just have one question for you from your Exhibit 1. And do you have a copy, page 2?
No.
Please hand a copy of Exhibit 1 to him. Hand Exhibit 1 to him.
Yes.
Yes, sir. The very last paragraph, last sentence, I'll read. I shall inform the Commission what deleterious effects this campaign had on the collective efforts of the democratic movements to mobilize world opinion against the brutality of Sani Abacha's dictatorship. Yes, you've related some of these acts of brutality against certain individuals, including members of your confraternity. Were you personally a victim of this brutality you spoke of in your Exhibit 1?
I would rather not actually talk so much about some of the incidents which took place outside. I had to relocate a number of times. In many countries, I had to have permanent police protection simply because the various countries received information about the intrusion into their nation space of agents of Sani Abacha. An incident took place in a Washington hotel, which I think the papers reported at the time, in which I'm quite certain, and we were quite certain, that these were people working for Abacha who were looking to either harm me in some way. But we succeeded in keeping one step ahead of them most of the time. If on a light note, I was teaching in Atlanta, as you know, I still am, and an embassy was actually installed in Atlanta. We fought against it, but the Abacha dollars overpowered us, and that embassy, as well as the so there I go again, I meant consulate. That consulate, as well as the one in Houston, we know was set up not so much for the benefit of Nigerian students and Nigerians abroad, but simply to facilitate the work of the agencies of Sani Abacha. So if there's even any compensation I would like, I think the one in Atlanta should be named Wole Soyinka Nigerian Consulate, don't you think? Anyway, that's not meant to be taken seriously.
Thank you very much, Professor. Now let's look at your Exhibit 2. It is in evidence before this commission that your confraternity does not recognize campus calls. In 1984, the Pirate Confraternity withdrew its recognition of campus calls. Is that correct?
Oh, it never recognized campus calls. What it did was withdraw from existence on campuses. It never at any time attempted to associate with these killer cults. So the question of withdrawing recognition did not exist.
I see. Are you aware, sir, that the Pirate Confraternity in fact started off as a campus confraternity?
Yes, absolutely.
You are aware of
I was one of the founders in 1952.
Now you are saying they never recognized the campus calls.
No,
sorry,
you use the
not
word
the
cults.
calls. I'm sorry, yes. The confraternities, the campus confraternities.
I'm talking about others, those who claim to be fraternities or confraternities and were acting contrary to the principles of confraternities. The pirates refused to associate with them.
All right, sir. Let me refer to page 6 of your Exhibit 2. To save time, I'll read a few lines to you. Every movement, profession, or association, secular or religious, spawns its mimics and aberrants, its opportunists and psychopaths. The police and military are no exception. A responsible society learns to distinguish between the strict upholders of the founding ideals and those who debase them with grotesquely distorted versions or group conduct. The security arms of society must be at the vanguard of this rigorous duty of discrimination and education. Yes, sir. Now, bearing in mind that despite the fact that the Paris Confraternity does not recognize campus calls, it is evident that a lot of these calls are in fact masquerading in the footsteps of the Paris Confraternity. Don't you think the organization owes the society a moral duty to guide these adolescents aright, instead of turning your backs on them?
Well, that question has been raised a number of times, and it's a very legitimate question. What the Paris Confraternity tried to do was to make it a general process of education. For instance, in the attempt to stamp out these campus cults, a kind of, members were invited. I know of one instance in which we found that members had been invited to participate in the deliberations of members of other, these so-called confraternities. But they were not allowed to speak. I remember one, I was presiding that day, and one of them wanted to present a paper, and we said, no, this is where the confusion starts all over again. All we can do is show you by example and get you to reform and talk to you. In fact, one member of the Paris Confraternity went so far in his enthusiasm towards the reformation of these campus cults that he made a mistake. He took a certain strategic action which increased the confusion, and he was duly punished for it. Because principle, if you're going to guide other people, you've got to make sure that you're not in any way confused with the activities of others. So there has been no shortage of the attempt to educate the students on campuses and so on. It's just the methodology over which we may disagree.
And sir, we are satisfied that the Paris Confraternity, as presently constituted in terms of its ideals and its aspirations, in fact has the moral rectitude to be able to guide adolescents aright?
Absolutely. There's no question in my mind.
Thank you, sir. Are you aware that the logo of the Paris Confraternity was changed in 1997?
Yes, I'm aware of that. That is changed on note paper, but I don't think it was changed throughout all the various regalia, as we call it, and so on. But changed on the note paper, yes.
Okay, on the paper of the organization?
On the note paper, yes.
Do you know why that step was taken?
Yes, the debate had been going on for years, all societies, all organizations change, they evolve, and the question about this skull and crossbones, I mean, you'd hear people say, all right, why do you use skull and crossbones? And even when the symbolism of that, because skull and crossbones is a sign which you place in danger areas. It means caution, think before you leap. One of the mottos of the Paris Confraternity is think before you leap. You could say that the skull and crossbones is a kind of symbolic representation. It's like the kind of sign you see on poison bottles, that caution. And one of the watchwords of the Paris Confraternity is that element of intelligent caution. So some people came up to change or not to change. It was decided democratically, and that's what happened. But some were for sticking to the original logo, and a compromise was worked out. And I think you'll find the new logo mostly on note paper.
Thank you, Professor. I believe you stated a while ago during your testimony that after you took your exit, after you left the Federal Road Safety Commission, members who were identified as belonging to the pirate confraternity were sacked en masse. Was that your evidence?
Yes, that's my...
All right, sir. Thank you. Now, are you aware that the Nigerian Constitution provides for equal opportunities for all citizens, irrespective of their religious, social leaning, or whatever?
I'm very much aware of that.
Now, sir, I'm curious about the fact that when you were the head of that organization, it appears there was a mass influx of members of the confraternity into the Federal Road Safety, which perhaps necessitated their mass sack after you left the organization. Am I correct?
No, I don't think that will be correct. I think you'll find within that period of the Road Safety Corps an equal number of members of the Lions Club, of Rotary Club, of women's organization, of the various social clubs which exist in this country, including St. John's Ambulance. So that claim is not correct. I remember that statistics were shown me at one time about the comparative membership of the various, similar organizations in this country. And I don't think there was any imbalance. One thing which I'll say to you, though, and I think this may be important, not just for the panel, but for the nation, the Road Safety Corps set out to set an example in probity and accountability in this country, and took many steps towards that. I would, if you asked me, would it be true that members of the Paris Confraternity were used, for instance, in the kind of activity of monitoring, the monitoring section, which looked into the possibilities of bribe taking and so on? That would be true. And that's probably because a pirate who takes bribe, the kind of punishment of ostracism which awaited that member will be something which he would regret for the rest of his life. So that aspect may be true.
Thank you very much, sir. So you are confirming that they did not get in there because of their association with you?
They were just thrown out simply because it was determined by a number of individuals whose names I have, in the one ex-policeman, people in Abacha's cabinet, Abacha himself, that anything which had to do with Wole Soyinka must be destroyed. And this crook, former council member who was booted out and who was standing charge for the various malfeasances unearthed by a monitoring unit, was sent back after his dismissal to do the hatchet job of flushing out the so-called Wole Soyinka boys, and that included non-pirates, by the way, anybody remotely associated with Wole Soyinka, either banished to the wilderness or flung out of the organization.
Thank you very much, sir. Just one last question. You made reference to Radio Kudirat in your evidence in chief. I suppose you are confirming that you were behind the Radio Kudirat?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Professor.
With due respect to the chairman and members of the commission, P. Osho is my name. If you look at the cases for today, University of Benin is mentioned, the case number 256. I'll be appearing in that case. But in the course of cross-examination, cross-examining Professor Wole Soyinka, he made a cryptic reference to some vice-chancellors that are employing members of secret court as their bodyguards. And in fact, he singled out University of Benin for mention. I want to cross-examine him on that point, just to clarify a point. Whether his reference to the University of Benin, it was a sweeping reference, is to the present administration or the past, and then the source of his information.
It's definitely not to the present.
Thank you.
It's to one of the administrations of the past. And I'm not going to mention names here because I know that's going to lead to a whole day of cross-examination.
So you don't want to be cross-examined again?
No, I do not. Not in this.
So I think that's all right, sir.
Any other cross-examination? Otherwise, re-examine.
Professor Soyinka, you were asked under examination, under cross-examination, whether any of your children is a member of the confraternity, and you said Olaokun, your first son, is a member.
That's right.
What does he do for a living now?
He's a doctor, a medical doctor.
A medical doctor. Now, you were also asked about the activities of your members. And the specific aspect which I want you to clear is it part of the aims and aspirations of the confraternity to make people misbehave?
On the very opposite is the truth.
Now, you were also asked that your person, as a member of the confraternity, has lent some credence to how people react to the confraternity.
Yes,
now, to your knowledge, has any member of the confraternity, to your knowledge, Now, to your knowledge, has any member of the confraternity been associated with any campus misbehavior?
Misbehavior. If you look at misbehavior in terms of what we call youthful exuberance, yes, that has happened. And they have been duly disciplined, to my knowledge, either by the authorities of the university or by the association itself, because the rules are very rigid. And so there have been instances of misbehavior, absolutely, misdemeanor, and they get punished for it.
That will be all for him.
Any other witness? That's your case.
My Lord, that will be the whole case for Professor
Thank you
Soyinka.
very much.
Yes.
Is there any